I think our governors, the board and the governors expect the World Bank to play a very large role in climate change issues and other environmental issues, and trying to make contributions around global public goods. We'll simply have to figure out over time the best mechanisms to do that. The commitment to it is there. The notion that we need to reach beyond the traditional mechanisms, work with civil society organizations, get outside of the standard ways that we've been doing business before, I think we're already there. In terms of Kosovo, well, you can imagine these are very difficult questions. And energy is a critical part of boosting prosperity and eradicating poverty. We talk about this all the time with relation to Africa. We know that we want more private sector investments in Africa to create the kind of jobs that are needed in Africa. But if you don't have access to power, it's impossible for that kind of development to happen. So there are differing views within the World Bank Board. There are differing views about this trade-off between our need to keep the environment clean and poor countries' need for energy. Right? So I would simply say this is part of my new job and my new experience in trying to deal in a multilateral organization where people have very different views. One group will say, we must protect the environment. The other group will say, but wait a minute, you also use coal. And they say this to the wealthy countries. You also use coal, and you fueled your development on the basis of coal. We simply want to provide power to our hospitals. We want to provide lights for the schools. We want to provide energy so that the private sector can develop. We need to do that. Now, our standards on clean energy are very high. Our efforts to develop clean energy projects is also as high as it can be. But we're dealing in a complicated world where you have these competing demands for energy for development versus our desperate need to keep the environment clean. Look, I've been trained in science. I think I'm actually the first one trained in science as to be president of the World Bank. And so I have to tell you that the data that I'm seeing about changes that are happening today that we didn't think would happen for 3 or 4 years, the impact of a 1-degree rise in the temperature of the oceans that we didn't think would happen until we got to 2 to 3 degrees rise in the temperature of the oceans, this is extremely disturbing to me. And I think we have to put the science of climate change in front of all of our member countries. And I guarantee you that I will do that. But having said that, you should also know that there is a need for energy to lift people out of poverty and boost prosperity. And so we're going to be constantly having to balance those needs and those interests.